When my son opened the barn door that Tuesday morning, expecting to meet the real estate appraiser alone, he found me sitting on a hay bale with a cup of coffee in my hand. His face went pale. The clipboard he was holding slipped from his fingers and clattered against the wooden floor. Behind him, my daughter-in-law froze mid-step, her designer boots suddenly rooted to the dirt. "Dad," my son whispered, his voice barely audible, "you're supposed to be in Arizona, at the wellness center." I took a slow sip of my coffee and smiled. I was. But it turns out I'm not as confused as you told the court I was. Surprise. My daughter-in-law grabbed my son's arm, trying to pull him backward, but he couldn't move. He just stood there, staring at me like he was seeing a ghost. "I think we need to have a conversation," I said calmly, setting down my mug. "About the guardianship petition. About the competency evaluation you forged. About everything." That's when my daughter-in-law started crying. But those tears didn't fool me anymore. "Let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you how I ended up here, sitting in my own barn, watching my only son realize that his scheme had crumbled to dust. My name is Harold Mitchell. I'm 67 years old. For the past 45 years, I've lived on the same 200-acre cattle ranch in Sweetgrass County, Montana. My wife, Carol, and I bought this land when we were just kids ourselves, barely 22, with nothing but a small inheritance from her grandmother and a dream of raising a family under the big sky. I spent 30 years as a firefighter in Big Timber while Carol ran the ranch. We raised Black Angus cattle, grew hay, and built something real with our own hands. The ranch house isn't much to look at from the outside, just a 2-story farmhouse with a wraparound porch. But it sits on some of the most beautiful grazing land in Montana. When we bought it in 1980, land was cheap, and nobody wanted to live this far from anything. Now, with all the wealthy folks from California buying up Montana ranch land, properties like mine sell for over $3 million. I know because developers have been sending me letters for years, wanting to turn my pastures into some kind of luxury resort. Carol passed away 2 years ago. Heart attack, sudden and cruel. She was hanging laundry on the line one morning, and by the time I came in from feeding the horses, she was gone. Just like that. 43 years of marriage ended in the time it took me to walk from the barn to the house. After she died, the ranch felt different. The mornings were too quiet. The evenings stretched on forever. I'd find myself talking to her sometimes, forgetting she wasn't there to answer. But this land, this life, it was all I had left of what we'd built together. I wasn't about to abandon it. My son Kevin seemed to understand that at first. He and his wife Amanda live in Bozeman, about an hour and a half away. After Carol died, Kevin started driving out every Sunday to check on me. He'd help with repairs, share a meal, keep me company. I appreciated it more than I could express. With Carol gone, Kevin was all the family I had left. "Dad, you can't keep running this place by yourself," he'd say, looking at the fences that needed mending, the barn roof that was starting to sag. "It's too much work for one person." "I've got help," I'd remind him. "Jake comes by 3 times a week to help with the cattle. I'm managing fine." But Kevin kept pushing. He'd point out every little thing that wasn't perfect, every task that was taking me longer than it used to. "What if something happens to you out here? What if you fall off a horse and nobody finds you for days?" Maybe he had a point, but this was my home, my life. Things changed last September. Kevin called me on a Sunday evening, his voice full of concern. "Dad, Amanda and I have been talking. We're worried about you. You've been through so much since Mom died. We think you need to take some time for yourself. Focus on healing." "I'm fine, son. Keeping busy is what helps me." "That's just it, Dad. You're not dealing with your grief. You're burying it in work. We found this amazing wellness retreat in Sedona, Arizona. It's a 3-month program specifically designed for people who've lost a spouse. Therapy, meditation, outdoor activities. It could really help you process everything." I laughed. "Sedona? Kevin, I'm a 67-year-old cattle rancher. I don't do meditation retreats. Mom would want you to take care of yourself. Please, Dad, let us give you this gift." Over the next few weeks, Kevin and Amanda tag-teamed me. They'd send me brochures, testimonials from other widowers who'd gone through the program. They'd already talked to the center, they said. They'd handle everything. All I had to do was show up. What about the ranch? I asked. I can't leave the cattle for 3 months. We've already thought of that, Kevin said. Jake can manage the daily operations. Amanda and I will drive out on weekends to check on things. And actually, there's something we should probably handle before you go. He pulled out a stack of papers. This is a power of attorney. It gives Amanda and me the ability to handle things for you while you're away. Pay bills. Make decisions if there's an emergency with the ranch. Standard stuff. Something in my gut tightened. I don't know about this, Kevin. That's a lot of authority. Dad, it's totally normal. Everyone does this before extended travel. What if there's an emergency? What if we need to authorize repairs or sign something on your behalf? You'll be in the middle of the Arizona desert with limited cell service. Amanda chimed in with her sweetest smile. We just want to make sure the ranch is protected while you're focusing on getting better. We'd never do anything without your best interests in mind. She was my daughter-in-law. Kevin was my son, my only child. Carol had trusted them. Why wouldn't I? I signed the papers in front of a notary at their lawyer's office in Bozeman. Kevin hugged me tight afterward. This is going to be so good for you, Dad. You're going to come back feeling like a new man. The first few weeks at the Sedona Wellness Center were actually pleasant. I won't lie about that. The desert landscape was beautiful in its own way, different from Montana but peaceful. I met other widowers, shared stories around evening campfires, even tried meditation a few times. It wasn't my thing, but the people were kind. I called Kevin every Sunday. He always sounded upbeat, assuring me everything at the ranch was fine. Jake's doing great. The cattle are healthy. Don't worry about anything. Just focus on yourself. The center had limited phone and internet access by design. They called it a digital detox, encouraging residents to disconnect from their daily lives and focus on inner healing. I didn't love it, but I understood the philosophy. It was early November, about 6 weeks into my stay, when everything collapsed. I developed a friendship with another resident named George, a retired sheriff from New Mexico who'd lost his wife to cancer the year before. George was sharp, observant, the kind of man who noticed things others missed. "Harold," he said one evening, pulling me aside after dinner. "Something's been bothering me. You got a call from your son last week, right? What exactly did he say about your ranch?" "Same as always. Everything's fine." "Jake's handling things." George frowned. "I overheard one of the staff talking on the phone earlier. They mentioned your name. Something about a competency evaluation and a court date." My blood ran cold. "What?" "I don't know the details, but something's not right. You might want to make some calls." That night, I broke the center's rules. I snuck out to the main office after everyone was asleep and used the landline to call Jake, my ranch hand. He answered on the third ring, sounding surprised and worried. "Harold, where the hell are you? Kevin told me you'd been committed to a care facility back east, said you had some kind of breakdown, that you weren't competent to make decisions anymore." The room started spinning. "Jake, what are you talking about? I'm at a wellness retreat in Arizona. I've been here for 6 weeks. Harold, listen to me. Kevin came out to the ranch 2 weeks ago with a lawyer and some kind of court order. Said he'd been granted emergency guardianship over you. Said you'd been evaluated by a doctor who determined you had severe dementia and couldn't manage your own affairs. That's a lie. I've never been evaluated by any doctor. There's more." Jake's voice dropped. "Kevin's been talking to developers, that same outfit that's been sending you letters for years. Word around town is they're negotiating a sale. $3.2 million for the whole property. Kevin's planning to sell your ranch, Harold." I couldn't breathe. My own son, the boy I'd raised, put through college, walked through every difficult moment of his life. He was trying to steal my ranch. He was trying to have me declared incompetent so he could take everything Carol and I had built. "Jake, I need your help. I'm coming home, but I need to know everything. Who did Kevin talk to? What documents did he file?" Jake told me everything he knew. Kevin had filed a petition for guardianship in Sweetgrass County, claiming I was suffering from progressive dementia and was a danger to myself. The petition included a medical evaluation supposedly conducted by a doctor, Raymond Shaw, in Bozeman. According to the documents, Dr. Shaw had examined me and concluded I was incapable of managing my own affairs, making financial decisions, or living independently. I'd never met Dr. Raymond Shaw. I'd never been examined by anyone. The guardianship had been granted on an emergency basis 3 weeks earlier. Kevin was now legally my guardian. He had complete control over my finances, my property, my life. The sale is supposed to close on December 15th, Jake said. That's 5 weeks from now. Harold, what are you going to do? I checked my wallet. I had exactly $340 in cash. Kevin had cleaned out my checking account using the power of attorney. My credit cards had been canceled. I was 1,200 miles from home with no money, no resources, and my son had convinced a court I was too mentally impaired to take care of myself. I'm coming home, I said. Whatever it takes. I spent the next 2 days making plans. George, my friend from the retreat, turned out to be an angel in disguise. When I told him what was happening, he didn't hesitate. My nephew runs a small air charter service in Flagstaff. Let me make a call. George's nephew agreed to fly me to Billings for the cost of fuel, about $800. George covered it himself, refusing to take no for an answer. You can pay me back when you get your ranch back, he said. Right now, you need to move fast. I left the wellness center without telling anyone. I didn't trust them anymore. For all I knew, they were part of Kevin's scheme, keeping me isolated while he dismantled my life. The flight to Billings took 4 hours. From there, I called the only person I knew I could trust completely, my old friend Dale Ramsey. Dale and I had been firefighters together for 25 years. We'd saved each other's lives more times than I could count. He'd retired to a small place just outside Big Timber, not far from my ranch. Dale picked me up at the Billings airport that evening. His face was grim when he saw me. Harold, I thought you'd lost your mind. Kevin came by the firehouse last month, told everyone you'd had a breakdown, said you were in a secure facility somewhere, that it was best if nobody tried to contact you. I should have known something was wrong. Dale, I need to see those court documents. I need to find out what Kevin submitted to the judge. Already ahead of you. My daughter works in the county clerk's office. She pulled the file this morning. He handed me a manila folder. Inside were the guardianship petition, the emergency order, and the medical evaluation that had damned me. The evaluation was detailed and devastating. According to Dr. Shaw, I exhibited significant cognitive decline, consistent with moderate stage dementia. I was disoriented to time and place, unable to perform basic financial calculations, and at high risk of self-harm due to impaired judgment. It was a complete fabrication, every word of it, but there was something else in the file, something that made my heart stop. The medical evaluation was dated October 14th. According to the document, Dr. Shaw had examined me at his office in Bozeman at 2 p.m. that afternoon. I pulled out my phone and checked the calendar. October 14th. I'd been in Sedona that day. I had photos on my phone from a desert hiking excursion with timestamps. I had witnesses who'd seen me at the wellness center 1,200 miles from Montana. Kevin had forged the entire evaluation. Either Dr. Shaw didn't exist, or he'd been paid to sign a document for an examination that never happened. I've got him, I said quietly. Dale, I've got proof this is all a lie. Dale drove me to his place that night. I couldn't go back to the ranch yet, not with Kevin legally in control. If he found out I was back, he could have me picked up and institutionalized for real this time. For the next 3 days, I built my case. I contacted the state medical board and discovered there was indeed a Dr. Raymond Shaw licensed in Montana. He had a small practice in Bozeman, specializing in geriatric care. But when I dug deeper, I found something interesting. Dr. Shaw had been disciplined twice in the past 5 years for billing irregularities. He needed money, and apparently Kevin had provided it. I gathered time-stamped photos from my phone, proving I was in Arizona on the day of the supposed evaluation. I got written statements from the Sedona Wellness Center, confirming my attendance. I contacted George, who provided a sworn affidavit that he'd had breakfast with me on the morning of October 14th in Arizona. I also found something that changed everything. Dale's daughter helped me pull the visitor logs from Dr. Shaw's office for the month of October. According to those records, No patient named Harold Mitchell had ever visited the office. Not on October 14th. Not ever. Kevin hadn't just forged a medical evaluation. He'd created a completely fictional examination with no records to support it. The doctor had signed the evaluation without ever meeting me. That was fraud. That was conspiracy. That was criminal. On my 4th day back in Montana, I drove to the Sweetgrass County Courthouse with Dale at my side. I walked into Judge Catherine Whitmore's courtroom during a scheduled hearing on a property dispute. She looked up, surprised. When I approached the bench, "Your Honor, my name is Harold Mitchell. You granted an emergency guardianship over me 3 weeks ago based on a fraudulent medical evaluation. I'm here to prove I'm competent and to stop my son from stealing my ranch." The courtroom went silent. The judge studied me for a long moment. "Mr. Mitchell, this is highly irregular. You're supposed to be incapacitated. That's what my son wanted you to believe. But I have evidence that the medical evaluation was forged. I have proof I was 1,200 miles away on the day it was supposedly conducted. I have documentation showing the examining doctor has no record of ever seeing me. Your Honor, I am not incompetent. I'm a victim of fraud." Judge Whitmore called a recess and had me escorted to her chambers. For the next 2 hours, I presented everything: the time-stamped photos, the witness statements, the visitor logs from Dr. Shaw's office, the disciplinary records. When I finished, the judge removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "Mr. Mitchell, if what you're showing me is accurate, your son committed multiple felonies to gain control of your estate. I'm going to schedule an emergency hearing for tomorrow morning. I'm also issuing a temporary restraining order, stopping any sale of your property until this matter is resolved." "Thank you, Your Honor. And Mr. Mitchell, I'm very sorry this happened. The system is supposed to protect people like you, not be weaponized against them." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Dale's living room, looking at old photos of Kevin as a boy, Kevin at his first Little League game, Kevin graduating high school, Kevin and Amanda at their wedding, Carol and I beaming beside them. When had my son become a stranger? When had he started seeing me as an obstacle rather than his father? The hearing the next morning was in a small courtroom in Big Timber. Kevin arrived with Amanda and a high-priced lawyer from Bozeman, a slick man in his 50 named Thompson. Kevin's face went white when he saw me sitting at the petitioner's table. "Dad?" he whispered. "What are you? How did you—" "Sit down, Kevin. We have a lot to talk about." Judge Whitmore entered and called the hearing to order. "We're here on an emergency petition by Harold Mitchell to vacate the guardianship granted to Kevin Mitchell on October 21st and to address allegations of fraud in the original petition. Mr. Harold Mitchell, please present your case." I stood slowly, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Your Honor, 3 weeks ago, my son convinced this court that I was mentally incompetent and needed a guardian. He did this using a medical evaluation that was completely fabricated. I was never examined by Dr. Raymond Shaw. On the date the evaluation claims I was in Dr. Shaw's office in Bozeman, I was actually at a wellness center in Sedona, Arizona. I have photographic evidence, witness statements, and documentation proving this. I presented each piece of evidence carefully. The photos, with timestamps, George's affidavit, the statement from the wellness center, the visitor logs from Dr. Shaw's office showing no record of my visit. When I finished, Judge Whitmore turned to Kevin's lawyer. "Mr. Thompson, how do you explain these discrepancies?" Thompson stood, looking uncomfortable. "Your Honor, there may have been a clerical error with the dates. Dr. Shaw is prepared to testify that he did evaluate Mr. Mitchell at some point prior to." "A clerical error?" The judge's voice was ice. "The entire evaluation is dated October 14th. The document specifically states that Mr. Mitchell was examined at 2 p.m. that afternoon. Yet Mr. Mitchell has produced irrefutable evidence that he was in Arizona at that exact time. That's not a clerical error. That's fraud." She turned to Kevin. "Mr. Kevin Mitchell, did you know that the medical evaluation submitted to this court was false?" Kevin looked at Amanda. Amanda looked at Thompson. Thompson looked at the floor. "Answer the question," the judge commanded. Kevin's voice cracked. We were trying to help him. He's not thinking clearly. The ranch is too much for him, we thought. You thought you could have your father declared incompetent using a forged medical document, gain control of his assets, and sell his property for $3.2 million. Is that what you thought? Kevin's face crumpled. Dad, you don't understand. Amanda and I are in trouble. We have debts. Her medical bills from the accident last year, the business investments that went bad. We were going to lose everything. I thought if I could just sell the ranch, we could start over. You'd be taken care of. You wouldn't have to work so hard anymore. You were going to have me locked up in a nursing home while you spent my money, I said quietly. You were going to take the land your mother and I built with our own hands and sell it to developers who'd turn it into a resort for rich tourists. I was going to use some of the money to get you a nice place, somewhere comfortable. I have a nice place? I have my home, and you tried to steal it from me. Amanda finally spoke up, her voice trembling. We were desperate, Harold. You don't know what it's been like. The collectors calling every day. The threats. Kevin was just trying to protect his family. I'm his family, I said. I'm his father. And he forged documents to have me declared mentally incompetent. He was going to sell my ranch without my knowledge or consent. He left me stranded in Arizona with $340 to my name. What part of that was protecting family? The courtroom was silent. Judge Whitmore spoke firmly. I'm vacating the guardianship immediately. Harold Mitchell is restored to full legal control of his affairs. The power of attorney is revoked. The restraining order on the property sale remains in place permanently. She looked at Kevin with undisguised contempt. Mr. Kevin Mitchell, what you did constitutes fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. I'm referring this matter to the county prosecutor for criminal investigation. Dr. Raymond Shaw will also be referred for investigation by the State Medical Board and potential criminal charges. She paused. Mr. Harold Mitchell, you have the right to pursue civil action against your son for damages. You also have the right to request that criminal charges be filed immediately. What would you like to do? I looked at Kevin. My son, the boy who used to ride on my shoulders to look at the horses. The young man who cried at his mother's funeral and promised me he'd always be there for me. Your Honor, I'd like 48 hours to consider my options. The judge nodded. Granted. We're adjourned. As the courtroom emptied, Kevin tried to approach me. Dale stepped between us. Don't, Dale said. You've done enough. Dad, please, Kevin said, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help, I said quietly. You could have told me the truth about your debts. Instead, you sent me away so you could steal everything I have. You tried to have me declared mentally incompetent. Do you understand what that means? You tried to take away my freedom, my dignity, my identity. I was going to take care of you with the money. That's what Amanda said. And I don't believe either of you. I walked out of that courtroom with Dale beside me. I didn't look back. That night, I returned to my ranch for the first time in almost 2 months. The house was dark, the fields quiet. Jake had kept things running, but I could see where maintenance had slipped, where Kevin had been more interested in preparing the property for sale than in caring for it. I walked through the house Carol and I had shared for 45 years. Our wedding photo still hung above the fireplace. Her reading glasses were still on the nightstand, where she'd left them the morning she died. I'd kept everything exactly as it was, unable to let go. Kevin had started packing some of it. There were boxes in the spare bedroom filled with Carol's books, her quilts, the antique clock her mother had given us as a wedding present, ready to be hauled away and sold. I sat on the porch that night and watched the stars. The Montana sky was enormous, endless, the kind of darkness you can only find far from city lights. Carol and I used to sit on this porch every evening, watching the sunset paint the mountains pink and gold. I thought about Kevin, about the boy he used to be, and the man he'd become. About how desperation can twist people into versions of themselves they'd never recognize. The next evening, Amanda showed up at my door alone. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, her face drawn and pale. Can I come in? Please, just for a minute. I didn't want to let her in. But something in her voice made me step aside. She sat on the edge of Carol's old chair, twisting her hands in her lap. "Harold, I need to tell you something. Kevin doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he knew." "What is it?" "The debts. They're not just from medical bills and bad investments. Kevin has a gambling problem. He's had it for years. I didn't know how bad it was until 6 months ago when the loan sharks started calling. He owes people money, Harold. Dangerous people. That's why he was so desperate. That's why he did what he did." I stared at her. "A gambling problem. He hid it from everyone. From me, from you, from his mother before she died. He's been borrowing money for years, always thinking he'd win it back. When the business investments failed, he couldn't cover his losses anymore. The people he owes threatened to hurt us if he didn't pay by Christmas. And stealing my ranch was his solution." Amanda nodded miserably. "I'm not excusing what he did, what we did. It was wrong. It was unforgivable. But I need you to understand that Kevin wasn't trying to hurt you. He was terrified. He wasn't thinking clearly. Neither was I when I found out my only son had me declared incompetent." I know. She wiped her eyes. "Harold, I'm asking you not to press charges. Not for Kevin's sake. For his sake, yes, but also because if Kevin goes to prison, the people he owes money to will come after me. They don't care about legal technicalities. They just want their money." "How much does he owe?" "Shirbawen Mayuan." I let out a long breath. "And you thought selling a $3 million ranch was the answer? What were you going to do with the rest of it?" "Pay off all our debts. Start over somewhere fresh. And yes, set up a trust to take care of you. We weren't going to abandon you completely. Just lock me in a nursing home and manage my money for me." I know how it sounds now. I know how terrible it was. But at the time, we convinced ourselves it was the right thing, that you'd be safer, more comfortable, that you'd eventually understand. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the barn was a dark shape against the stars. My cattle were settling in for the night. My land, my life. "Get out," I said. "Harold, please. I'll give you my answer tomorrow. But right now, I need you to leave." Amanda left without another word. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the house, looking at photos, remembering the life Carol and I had built. Remembering Kevin as a boy, as a teenager, as a young man full of promise. Gambling. All those years of watching his father struggle to build something real, and Kevin had thrown his own future away on cards and dice and desperate bets. Carol would have been heartbroken. But Carol also believed in redemption. She believed that people could change, that love was stronger than failure, that family meant standing by each other, even when it was hard. I called Kevin at 6 a.m. He answered on the first ring. "Dad, come to the ranch. Alone. We need to talk." An hour later, Kevin pulled into the driveway. He walked toward the porch, slowly, like a man approaching his own execution. I gestured to the chair beside me. "Sit down." He sat. "Amanda told me about the gambling, about the loan sharks." Kevin's face crumbled. "I didn't want her to tell you. I didn't want you to know how badly I'd failed. You failed a long time before this, Kevin. You failed when you started lying to your family. You failed when you chose gambling over honesty. The forged documents, the guardianship, trying to sell my ranch. That was just the final consequence of years of smaller failures. I know. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not pressing criminal charges." Kevin's head snapped up. "You're not?" "No. But that doesn't mean you're forgiven. It doesn't mean things go back to normal. It means I'm choosing not to destroy your life completely. Because despite everything, you're still my son. And your mother would never forgive me if I sent you to prison." "Dad, I'm not finished. You're going to get help for your gambling addiction. Real help. Therapy, support groups, whatever it takes. You're going to get a job, a real job, and you're going to pay back every penny you owe to those loan sharks. I don't care if it takes you 20 years. We will. I promise. I'm also changing my will. This ranch doesn't go to you when I die. It goes to the Montana Land Conservancy. They'll preserve it as open space forever. No development, no resorts. The land your mother and I loved will stay exactly as it is." Kevin flinched like I'd hit him. "I understand. And Kevin, I don't know if I'll ever trust you again. I don't know if I'll ever look at you without remembering what you tried to do. You're going to have to earn your way back into my life, and it's going to take a long time. I'll do whatever it takes. Good. Now get off my property. I have work to do. Kevin stood slowly. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Dad. I know that doesn't mean much right now, but I'm sorry. I know you are. That's the only reason you're not in handcuffs. He walked to his car and drove away. I watched until the dust settled behind him. That was 4 months ago. Today, I'm still here on my ranch. The guardianship is a distant memory, legally erased like it never happened. Dr. Shaw lost his medical license and is facing criminal charges for fraud. The loan sharks got their money after Kevin sold his house in Bozeman and took out a second mortgage on Amanda's parents' place. Kevin sends me emails sometimes, updates on his recovery, his new job at a hardware store, his progress in gambling addiction therapy. He doesn't ask to visit. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He just lets me know he's trying. Amanda sends cards on holidays. She never mentions what happened. She just writes that she hopes I'm well. I don't know if I'll ever have a real relationship with my son again. Trust, once broken like that, doesn't heal easily. Carol used to say that forgiveness was a gift you give yourself, that holding on to anger only hurts the person holding it. Maybe she was right. Maybe someday I'll find it in me to fully forgive Kevin, but not today. Today, I'm just grateful to be here, in my own house, on my own land, living my own life. When Kevin opened that barn door 4 months ago, expecting to meet the appraiser for my stolen ranch, and found me sitting there with coffee in my hand, I saw something break in him. The realization that his plan had failed. The understanding that I wasn't the confused old man he'd convinced himself I was. He'd underestimated me. He thought because I trusted him, I was naive. He thought because I was grieving, I was weak. He thought because his mother died, I had nothing left to fight for. He was wrong about all of it. I'm 67 years old. I'm a retired firefighter who spent 3 decades running into burning buildings. I'm a rancher who survived droughts, blizzards, and market crashes. I'm a widower who lost the love of his life and kept going anyway. I'm not easy to break. I'm not easy to fool. And I'm not going anywhere. This ranch, this life, it's mine. Carol and I built it together, and I'll protect it until my last breath. No one, not developers, not con artists, not even my own son, gets to take it away from me. Every morning when I wake up in my own bed, look out at my own fields, drink coffee on my own porch, I remember what it felt like to have it all nearly stolen. And I remember what it felt like to fight back and win. That's worth everything. That's worth more than any relationship built on lies. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Some days I miss having a son I could trust. But every day I'm grateful. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be free. Grateful to be the master of my own fate. Carol would be proud of me. And in the end, that's all that matters.